How are you, student? I'm welcoming you to session 4 uh, about counseling techniques. But let's go to previous session in which we have covered so far. We have seen the basic types of counseling, and we said there is individual counseling, couple counseling, and group counseling. And we have seen the features of all these types or basic types of counseling. Their features, which means the features of couple counseling, features of group counseling, and also individual counseling, and also the setup. But now let's see the counseling techniques. In all these, there are 10 techniques for counseling, in which we are going to cover in our session for counseling techniques. By the end of this session, I'm expecting you to be able to define counseling techniques, to explain counseling techniques, and identify qualities and values of effective counselor. Let's see the definition of counseling techniques. Counseling techniques are tools a counselor or healthcare provider uses in order to get information from a patient or client in order to build a relationship, assess the presenting problem, understand the problem, and be able to lead a patient or client reach a solution. Uh, the major reason for counseling, we have seen why counseling, but in this situation, uh, these techniques or tools are used by a counselor in counseling a patient or client. The main purpose is to understand, uh, presenting, and to build a relationship so as to help the patient or client to reach a solution of his problem. So it is an art that requires practice. Counselor should adequately possess the basic counseling skills so that he or she can recognize and handle most barriers and end up with successful counseling sessions. Without practice makes perfect. And we say a counselor should have what? Counseling skills so that he or she can recognize and handle most barriers and end up with successful counseling sessions. There are many different techniques that a counselor can use with their clients. Techniques help counselor to meticulously master every step and enable him or her to take an integrated approach to counseling. So, counseling techniques may vary depending on the person in need, but some techniques are common to all counseling. Counseling techniques may vary depending on the person in need, but some techniques are common to all counseling or to all basic types of counseling. You should bear it in mind. Uh, let's see the counseling techniques. The following are counseling techniques which are used regularly. First, greetings. The greeting must reflect warmth not only in the spoken words, but also in the tone of the voice as well as the facial features of the client. When you speak to your client, sometimes you have to show your client a smile. You have to assure your client that he is in good hand. I got it. Uh, the mindset up of your client, it depends on how you receive your client. I got it. So you start with your greetings. In which you make a free environment for your client. Let's go to emphasizing. Empath means feeling with the person, understanding why the person is in pain. While sympath means feeling sorry for a person and putting oneself in the other's shoe. I think now we understand the empath and sympath, or what are the difference. But by empathizing, empath means feeling with a person, understanding why the person is in pain. Why sympathy means feeling sorry for a person and putting oneself in other shoe. This is also very important too. Where reaches a point that they should feel sorry for, you do. But if it reaches a point that you should build that confidence to your client, you should create an environment which will build that what? Confidence to your client. So feeling with a person, understanding why a person is in pain, while and so forth and so on. Third is accepting, means valuing another person unconditionally as a human being. When a counselor shows disrespect or contempt for the client value and way of life, the client would assume that the counselor does not respect him or her, and this will affect the rapport building between them. Next is affirming. In this affirming, this means congratulating or complimenting clients on the positive actions that they have been able to take, whether it is the decision to come for counseling or otherwise. Uh, Another tool is using silence. Silence is sometimes necessary if a client becomes upset and need a few minutes to calm down or collect his thought. Silence is sometimes necessary if a client becomes upset and need a few minutes to calm down or collect his thought. Another technique is active listening. Active listening by the counselor encourages the client to share information by providing verbal and non-verbal expression of interest. This is very important when you speak to your client in a counseling setting. Sometimes, or most of the time, or when it is needed, you have to be an active listener. You should let your client to explain him or herself and give out all that he feels too. So for you, you will get a good chance of understanding the problem or the counseling process. Next technique is attending behaviors. This is expressing awareness and interest in what the client is communicating both verbally and non-verbally. I think this is common. Everyone understand the concept. There is paraphrasing. It means repeating the key point of what a client has said. This skill serves many purposes. Paraphrasing means repeating the key point of what a client has said. This skill serves many purposes. Another technique is reflection of feelings. The counselor tries to perceive the emotional state of the client and respond in a way that demonstrates an understanding of the client's emotional state. The counselor tries to perceive the emotional state of the client and respond in a way that demonstrates the understanding of the client's emotional state. Next, thereafter is summarizing. Summarizing means summing up the main points of a person's story and eliminating the less relevant details. Summarizing, not every details you get they are useful. So when you do a summary, you sum up the main points of a person's story and then you eliminate the less relevant details. The counselor takes the main point of the conversation and presents them to the client in a succinct manner that touches all that was covered during the session. Another one is questioning and probing. Questioning and probing, this skill the primary tool that a counselor uses to obtain information or seek clarification from a client. For example, you might have said something and you want to be sure if this is what real is he or she said. Then you probe by asking, so you got it. Then from there you got the concrete or the solid reason of reassurance that what the client said is what really he or she meant. Next, there is speaking simply. This means making use of language that is easy enough for a person to understand. Then we have focusing. Is a skill which enables the counselor help the client to prioritize and choose the most pressing problem that they would like to resolve. There is correcting misperceptions. This means providing accurate information to a client and correcting any misinformation that the client has expressed during the session. Supporting, the counselor offers encouragement and help client in order to give them confidence for taking action. The counselor has to be sure he or she does not sound patronizing to the client. Self-disclosing. Client prepared emotionally for the outcome of disclosing. They are helped to identify who the disclosure might be affect and to be aware of potential negative consequences. Examples, spouse, children, etc. etc. Now, student-led got qualities and values of effective counselor. We say a counselor, and we know who a counselor is, who is a counselee, and we know who is what is guidance and the difference between this. But let's see the qualities and values of effective counselor. Counselor is a trained person who help their client by counseling them. It clients or patients explore and understand their worlds and so discover better ways of thinking and living. A counselor must attempt to facilitate a client to solve their own problems, yet demonstrate a genuine concern and a comparison for the client's dilemmas. The rapport of the client and the counselor is an important factor in counseling. Consider what kind of core qualities one need to be an effective counselor, what it looks like to be an effective counselor, and what skills are needed to be an effective counselor. So let's get possible qualities. I know the possible qualities of a counselor. If you consider the above statement as I mentioned so far, wealth competence, maintains confidentiality, trustworthiness, demonstrates self-awareness and understanding, good psychological health, can build good rapport, show warmth and sensitivity, show empathy, remain objective and open-minded, is an active listener. It should be able to reflect and clarify their need, should be patient and non-judgmental. I think we have seen, and these are some of the possible qualities of a counselor, as though we understand who a counselor is. And we said we have to consider the kind of core qualities one need to be an effective counselor. Let's see the effective counseling. Effective counseling is private, confidential, and respectful. Views the patient as the expert on his or her own life. So he should view a patient as an expert on his or her own life. Respect that patient come to counseling with a great strength and knowledge upon which to build. Doesn't tell the patient what to do and never forces the patient to do something. Understand that the patient's life is a social setting that influences choices. You should understand that the patient lives in a social setting that influence choices. View social relationships as a resource for improving health. Is developed through training and practice. So these are the effective counseling. Let's see the values of counseling or effective counseling. Values guide the belief and opinion that you stand for. Because values guide what you stand for and what you do not want, you cannot assign them any monetary value. Your value determines who you are, what you decide, and how you behave. Proper application of your values result in respect, love, good health, and good habits. Values are developed during growth. Therefore, the family and environment contribute a lot to the development of an individual values. The values come from the basics of the family. From there, as we say, are developed during growth. As you grow, what you learn from your people, what you learn from your family, it's what give or create that value inside you. That's why we say values are developed during growth. Therefore, the family and the environment you are grown or you grown up contribute a lot to development of an individual value. So it is important to respect values of others because we all have different values. Uh, let's see the values of an effective counselor. Values of an effective counselor, social values. These are some standards of behavior determined by society. Example, good manners. And we have moral values, objective and unchangeable, and are born knowledge of what is right and wrong. Example, telling lies. So we've seen above the social value. This is moral value. Now we go to religious value. Religious values based on particular faith or creed in a society. Student, I think we now understand the, the values of effective counselor as we covered so far. But when we say value, now we know what values are, as also explained here, and the general concept of values. When we say values, though we have seen effective counseling, what it takes for a counseling session to be effective. Then we have seen the possible qualities. We have seen qualities and values of effective counselors. Then we have seen the counseling techniques. Also, we have gone to definition of counseling techniques. I think we understand this. Uh, Thank you for your time.